Okay, hello. Let's see what we got here. Uh, I noticed Donnie had a out of Africa discussion, and it was pretty interesting, but it was more in the line of not not what I've been going through. It's been on the line of bottlenecks and stuff like that. But I think it's important some of the things here, such as let me see what I got here. Is this the new ones? Oh, here. Go with this one here. Hold on a second. I gotta present first. Otherwise, I'll look kind of funny. Okay. So, I have a new chart here. Basically the same thing. I have the IJ over here, which is the IJK, but it might help people understand a little bit better because it's called an IJKLT. I guess maybe that's what they called it before. This is a KLT. This is an IJKLT. This is a HIJKLT. And this is a GHIJKLT. So you notice there's a stair step either going up or down, whereas this IJ shares this marker with the KLT group, and the HIJK, or the H, does not share this marker that the IJ shares with the KLT group. Now, the reason why I think this is important is because these are real markers. These are actual real markers, very important. And the claim is here with this most recent common ancestor, this Y, most recent common ancestor. This is what the claim is, and they're using these genetic markers, SNPs, markers, to prove their case of an out of Africa. And if we don't address this stair step out of Africa with the most recent common ancestor of everybody, this is the root of the tree where they want to root the tree. Of course, it's rooted here with the Neanderthals and Denisovans, or Denisovans and Neanderthal, or Denisovans and Neanderthals, whichever way they want to put it. I don't know which is which. But this A00 is a Neanderthal or Denisovan, and this V148 is a Denisovan or Neanderthal. And only when you get to the A1 is it actually a modern human, or today's humans, that share these markers here. Now, their claim is that a marker is being gained. We got 10088 or 86 here, and 10085 here. Now they're claiming the Neanderthals had this marker, and this other group here had this marker, which is shared with apparently Denisovans, which would make sense because Denisovans Not sure if they have found a male Denisovan, but as far as I know, it was a female Denisovan, so it wouldn't be in a Y chromosome. But if they found something else with a marker, I don't know. This is probably old anyway, so I don't know how they got that Y chromosome marker, SNP marker, which is a question I had before. But, anyways, these are real markers, and this one is shared by A here and this A2 and the A and the B. In other words, the claim is that this marker was gained that everybody shares. Everybody living today shares. This marker here was gained that only B, C, D, and F, which is everybody else, shares this marker. And then, which is a single nucleotide polymorphism. So this one was gained here, which is shared by not B. In other words, it's a new, the claim is it's a new genetic marker that's been added, or a polymorphism, single nucleotide polymorphism that was gained, is the claim, which is shared only by the DE and the CF. In other words, C, D, E, and F, which means F means the rest, everybody else too. So this is something we have to address if we're going to defeat the out of Africa most recent common ancestor. Now, there's been more study, and people are saying that it's the B is not related to the, or not connected to the DE and the CF. Or in other words, there's some claims that say that it's going the other way. But anyways, and that's with this out of Africa population here. But anyways, if we're going to defeat this this claim, we got to figure out what's going on here, because these are real markers. This is a marker that's shared by, not by A and B, but by D and E and C and F, which is C, D, E, and F for the rest of the world. And the same thing goes on down the line. So we have an F, a G, and an H here. And if we don't refute this or disprove it, which you can't disprove these markers because they're real markers. The only problem is that it seems to me very clear that these are not markers that are being gained, forming a stair step out of Africa. These are markers being lost to people going right to left, going from this side to this other side. So these markers are not being gained. These single nucleotide polymorphisms are not being gained. They're being lost to these populations over here. And my I don't want to say prediction, my what do you call it? Mine's going blank. But anyways, my idea is that it's not being gained, it's being lost. And if you were to root the tree over here at the other end, you would be able, my prediction, I don't want to say prediction, but my projection or whatever, is that you will, if they look for them, they will be able to find and prove a stair step going from this K right here, which is K right here. Well, this is K here. This M9. It's K and LT together. If you root the tree here, which would be the Eurasian populations, because these are Eurasian populations here. The K, the S, the M, the Q, the R, the N, the O, the L, and the T. That's Eurasian populations. This T would be Javan in the Mediterranean, Greek Mediterranean Sea people. This L would be the Thracian Sea people. This O would be the East Asian descendants of Magog. This N would be the northern descendants of Meshech. This R would be Gomer, both in Europe and India. This Q is Madai, both in West Asia, America, and Europe. The Q, because those are places where Madai went, or was anyway. And the K, the M and the S would be descendants of Tubal, which in Italy there's still a K population. I believe it's K2 in Italy. Sometimes they switch them up. But anyways, my prediction is that if you root the tree with the K, that you would have that same stair step descending from K, because it turns out that the Eurasian population would be the northern nations, which would be the oldest son of Noah, which is Japheth. So I just mentioned all the descendants of Japheth, 7 descendants of Japheth. Since he's the oldest son, that he can share a marker like this one here, this M52, he can share, Japheth can share a marker with his nephew Arpachshad, who is the IJ, because Arpachshad is the oldest son of Shem, who is the brother of Japheth. So Arpachshad shares this marker M522 with his uncle Japheth, which is then lost to his younger brothers, because they're younger brothers, Elam, Asher, and Aram and Lud. So these would be the Semitic population starting with F. And the same thing with C. C turns out to be, then probably, the prediction is that C would be Nimrod. He's the oldest son of Cush, who is the oldest son of Ham. So this marker here, Nimrod can share with the rest of the populations going left to right. He can share this marker because he's the oldest son of Cush, who is the son of Ham, who is the oldest son of Ham. So then this marker then is lost to The other sons of Ham, which would be, of course, Mitzrayim, Put, Canaan, and Cush, or the other descendants, the other younger brothers of Nimrod, the sons of Cush. So the sons of Cush would be A and B, as far as I can tell. But that's the way it has to go. That's the only way you can disprove an out of Africa claim that instead of gaining these markers going left to right, they're losing the markers going right to left. So they're losing S&P markers. But these other markers of here, of course, are markers that are being gained. For example, this F2 is unique to F2. This M201 is unique to G, which would be Assyria. This M3035 is unique to H, and on and on. I and J, this marker here is unique to I and J, and the M170, that's me, and the M304 is the rest of the Judaic and Arabic populations. Speaking of which, I found out some more stuff about myself here. Let me see where am I? Hello, Doki Doki. Hello, Christian Carpenter. And see Bobby and Jeremy. Okay. Anyway. All right. So I did find some things new with myself or my own genealogy. I guess, where am I going to go? Here, I'll go here. Yes. Looks like everybody's interested. Well, I happen to be an I1 M253. Okay. Now it seems the main population of the IM253 of the Scandinavians and such and Vikings and stuff is this DF229. This is not me. I'm not that. I am M253 right here, but I don't know if you can see it, but there is a line here from 253 going to the Z17954. And this is the group where I came from, which apparently turns out this is 925. What does it say? 925. What's this say? 954. It's the same thing. 954. And it's 925 is the same group. Believe it or not. It's, just take my word for it. Maybe I can show you a little bit, but it appears to be, whereas the for example, the DF29 turns out to be the Nordic people, the West Germanic and East Germanic people. That's the DF29, which I guess is the majority of the M253s. But then there's this is the I1A, I1B, and I1C. I'm the I1C. And then there's the I1D as well. But these appear to be North Alpine, I guess, from what it's saying. which is the Northern Alps, I guess. So what apparently happened is that my ancestors probably sailed down the Rhine River, which is due north, which took them up to the Anglo-Saxon area, and that's how they ended up in Scotland, or England and Scotland. But this other group would be the Nordic peoples, West Germanic people, East Germanic people, and they would be Scandinavians and Vikings are down here, Finland, Scandinavia, Finland, Germany, which is all the same thing anyway, but it's just a different lineage, that's all. Portugal, Italy, um, Scotland, Germany, Spain. It's all the same thing anyway, but it's just a different lineage. This is not my lineage. I'm not the lineage of the Vikings or the Nordics. Apparently, this is me right here, Northern Alpine from the Northern Alps. It's I1C. So, uh, then, actually, before I go on to this, is the Cohen modal haplotype. But let me see if I can go. Let's see what this is here. Okay, here's what I am. It's not exactly what I am. I'm not showing the whole tree here. But it's an IM170, the IM253. Of course, green is positive. This is negative because it's another stream. This one is the Z17954, which is the one. And this other one, 25, where is the 125? There it is. Z17925 was the other number that's tested positive in my lineage, what I am or whatever. But anyways, it's just a subset of IM253, but it's not this. Remember this IDF29? It's not the Scandinavians. See, this is all red. This is all not the Scandinavians nor Nordics or otherwise German and everything else like that. So this is the IDF29, which is not mine. This is what I am, is the 54. You remember the 54 number and also the 25 number. Plus, but that's not exactly what I am. It's just I'm going on down the line. But anyways, just for that. Now I guess we'll go back to the Cohen modal haplotypes. So it turns out that this P58 is a J1A, of course. Now this J1A P58 turns out to be the Cohen modal haplotype. So all these people here, which is Jewish, and Jewish, all these people are probably the descendants of Aaron, because of all the Ashkenazi Cohen they tested and the non-Ashkenazi Cohen they tested. You got a big spike right here with a JP58. So this JP58, you get the big spike here for Ashkenazi Cohen and non-Ashkenazi Cohen, both. Both groups of Cohen, which is probably Sephardic or whatever, both groups have a huge spike for JP58. So, for all intents and purposes, this being what it is, this is probably descendants of Levi. I mean, they're descendants of Levi, but descendants of Aaron would be this JP58, descendants of Aaron. These over here could be otherwise descendants of Levi. And since this is J1, not J2, these could be other tribes of Israel. And I'm not sure how exhaustive this group is here of J1. It could be just a specific group of J1, M267, but these other ones could be Arabic or something. And there's still the J2, which is Judaic, descendants of David, King Solomon, and otherwise Judaic would be the J2, and possibly other tribes of Israel as well. I'm not sure because I haven't really looked at it too much, but this is just to show this P58 right here with this Jewish, and otherwise descendants is the would be the probably descendants of Aaron, Moses' brother, Aaron. And of course, both Moses and Aaron are descendants of Levi. These might be otherwise Levites, some of these maybe too, I'm not sure. But anyways, that's kind of the thing there. And just wanted to explain a little bit of these are SNPs. These are single nucleotide polymorphisms, but the STR, the single tandem repeats of the Y DNA, non-recombining Y DNA, the single tandem repeats look like this. So in other words, you have this is IM253. This is not my group, but these are like an example of the numbers that you would see. So what it is, when you take a test, you come out with all these numbers like this. This is 111 places, or I think it's 111, something like that. 111 places. These are all different sections of your Y DNA, and what these numbers represent. These numbers represent the numbers of copies of these single tandem repeats, what they call single tandem repeats. And the number of repeats here is 13 in this column here. Number of repeats here is 22. Number of repeats is 15, 10, and keeps on going. So you have all these different places. This is what you get when you take a Y-DNA test. You get this series of numbers. So what it is, these are comparing one person with another person. These are all different people here. Each one is an IM253 here, but they're different lineages or branches, but they're all IM253. And so the interesting thing that I want to show is this is like having a common ancestor. This is what you get with a common ancestor going back like 300 years that you may or may not remember me talking about, but these are different people. Keep in mind, these are all different people, but look at the similarities between these people. For example, these are all 13, these are all 23, except this one is a 24. He has 24 tandem repeats in this section of the Y chromosome instead of 23. So he has a single tandem repeat that's different than his other ancestors going back 130 years or so. 300 years or so. Same thing. These are all the same, all exactly the same, except for these different colored ones. It's 31 instead of 30. It's 31 instead of 30. and here is 29 instead of 30. So in this case, this guy lost one of his repeats. It's 29 instead of 30. And in this case, the guy gained a repeat, which is a repeat of the same information, same section of DNA. In other words, they're single tandem repeats. So he has 31 copies for this repeat instead of 30. Same thing over here. Instead of 19, this person over here he lost a repeat, so he has 18 instead of 19. Same thing over here. He has 36 instead of 37, and it keeps on going all the way to 111 places. For example, here there's 25. This person here has 25 instead of 26. But other than that, these numbers are all exactly the same from his paternal Y chromosome cousins going back with a common ancestor that goes back 300 years. So here again, he's got 13 instead of 12, 25 instead of 26. So this guy's here is losing the markers. This guy here gained the marker. 28 instead of 27. 18 instead of 19. And it goes all the way 111 places to the last one, which is 11 markers. So you can see the similarity in the Y chromosome. In other words, these people that have a common ancestor going back 300 years are sharing the exact same single tandem repeats as everybody else in their group, which has a common ancestor going back like 300 years. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. Maybe it'll help to understand the difference between the STRs, which is the single tandem repeat, and the SNPs, which is the single nucleotide polymorphisms. These are the SNPs right here. SNP results, single nucleotide polymorphisms. So these are what they call the SNPs. These are what define the genealogies. The only problem is, or the only difference is that, let me see what I got here. If I can go back here. That with these SNPs, these SNPs they call them, from this K, in other words, these are SNPs that are gained because they're unique to K. This is the unique to K. This is unique to S. And this is unique to M and such. But these up here, this M19, M522, these things, instead of being gained going this way, I believe that the only way you can disprove the out of Africa belief is that they're being lost. You have to root the tree here with K, or here with K. You have to root the tree with K, which would be Arbashad, because he's the oldest brother. So these real nucleotide polymorphisms are actually being lost instead of gained from right to left, going from right to left, because Japheth is the oldest brother. Japheth has the most original, whether right or wrong, good or bad, whatever. Japheth being the oldest brother, has the more original Y chromosome than does Shem and his descendants. Or at this point back here, Japheth actually shares a polymorphism with his nephew, Arpachshad, which is the father of the I and the J, which is the Danites and the Arabic people and the Jewish people. The descendants of Arpachshad share a snip with their uncle Japheth because they're the oldest son. They're the descendants of the oldest son of Shem. But then when you come to the H, the Elamites are the younger brother of Arpachshad. This is Arpachshad. His younger brother, the Elam, doesn't share this polymorphism right here, single nucleotide polymorphism SNP. The Elamites don't share it, don't have it. So they had to have lost this marker instead of gained it going this way, because Elam is the younger son of Japheth. Elam is the younger son of Arpachshad, who is the nephew of Japheth, the oldest son of Shem. And the same thing with Asher here. Asher doesn't share this marker with Elam. So Asher lost this marker and this marker when Asher was born. Same thing with the Arameans and the Lydians. They lost this marker that Asher and Elam had. So they no longer share it. Now this F would be the beginning of the Semitic population. C is a Hamitic population. So the only way a person with a Hamitic population could share a snip with his great uncle, which would be Shem, Nimrod's great uncle is Shem, is if Nimrod was the oldest son of Cush, who is the oldest son of Ham, who at that time when Nimrod was born shared this marker with his great uncle Shem. And subsequent younger generations, younger descendants, all lost this marker that the oldest son of Cush, the son of Ham, shared with his great uncle. This is the only possible way to disprove, if you really want to disprove the out of Africa claim, that's what you have to do. If you want to disprove this most recent common ancestor, you have to show how that these markers, instead of being gained going from left to right, they're actually being lost going from right to left. So this is very important. It's the only possible way you could absolutely prove, or that, the right way, as opposed to the out of Africa way. The only way you can disprove the out of Africa is if you show that these markers are being lost going from right to left instead of being gained going left to right. So that's very important if you want to disprove the out of Africa. Otherwise, you will never be able to disprove it, because these are absolute markers. The only problem is they're not being gained going this way out of Africa. They're being lost because the oldest brother is Japheth. Everyone should know, the youngest brother is Ham. The youngest brother is the Hamitic populations, who of course went to Africa and such. So let me see. Guess that's about it. Okay. So now that I lost everybody, I'm good to go. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's about it, I guess, for right now that I can think of. See if I got anything else that I wanted to show. This is what, Table Nations? Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Of course, and of course the Table Nations here. So, of course, so Japheth would be the oldest son with his 7 sons here. You know, the northern nations. This became the northern nations. Ham is the youngest son with the descendants of Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. Now, Mitzrayim had a lot of descendants, which seems to be the E3 population, or the used to be the E1, B1, something or other. But this Mitzrayim seems to be the E3, Put seems to be the E1, Canaan seems to be the E2. And out of all the Canaanites, it seems that unless they can find some more E2s in places, which they probably do have more E2s in the land of Canaan. But the E2s in the land of Canaan would be descendants of Canaan. The only one that's not there is this Sinite tribe, which is Sinim, the tribe of Sinim, which is the namesake of China. Turns out there is a DY chromosome which lines up with the E1, the E2, and E3, E2 being Canaan. There is a DY chromosome that lines right up with the E2 Y chromosome haplogroup. So this D, the Sinai tribe, actually goes up from the Andamanese Island up through Tibet, which is China, up over through the northern parts, the land of Jomon, and all the way to Japan. Now, these Sinites here apparently got pushed out, or they did get pushed out. The D in Japan, they were pushed up north. It's a known human history where the DY chromosome is pushed up into northern Japan. But it's also throughout from Tibet all the way through China, Mongolia, all the way to Japan is the Sinite tribe, which is probably the reason why the Bible refers to China as Sinim, from the tribe of Sinim. Okay. So, am I still sharing? Yeah, I guess I'm still sharing. Okay. So that's the way it has to be. You have to root the tree with Japheth, who is the oldest son. The youngest son would be all the way downhill because he's the youngest son. All his descendants are all the way downhill. So this stair step out of Africa is actually not rooted in Ham. It's rooted in Japheth, so that his descendants are losing the more original Y DNA group of Japheth. And of course, Shem is the middle son. people used to think Shem was the oldest, but it turns out that Japheth seems to be the oldest if you do the math. And there might have been a translation problem putting Shem as the oldest, but Shem is the middle son, Japheth is the oldest, Ham definitely is the youngest son. So that's why you have to have the snips being lost from the more original to going right to left on the chart. Of course, going through Shem to Ham. But see what else I got. Oh, been through this before, but this is very important here. The Thracians and Javan are the Greek people. Mainland population would be the Thracians. The Javan would be the sea people, which is Elisha, Kittim, Dodanim, and Tarshish. And it turns out the only Jewish population that has a TY chromosome, which stands for Tarshish, but the son of Javan, the only reason, it doesn't really, I'm just saying it. The only reason why the Jewish population has a TY chromosome at all is because the Portuguese population has a large TY chromosome, which would be the descendants of Javan. None of the other Sephardic or Ashkenazi populations have the TY chromosome from the descendants of Javan, which is only in this, at least Tarshish is, Tartizo. Tarshish is the only one in this area of the TY chromosome. In other words, the Jewish population in Portugal is the only Jewish population that even has a T at all. And so that's the reason why T comes up in the Jewish population, but not in the Sephardic communities and not in the Ashkenazi communities. The T doesn't come up. Only in the Portuguese population it comes up, which is one thing I found. So Larsha Kittim. So in other words, this T, I used to think that the T became part of the Phoenicians, and that's why Israel had the T in their population, but it turns out that the only Jewish population that even has a T is the Portuguese population anyway. And so they probably didn't even get it from the Phoenicians. At least that kind of percentage, which is only like 4 or 5% anyways in the entire Jewish population, but in the Portuguese population, it's more like 15% or something like that, which is the reason why the entire Jewish population has maybe 4 or 5% T in their population. Okay. So, of course, Aram is Shem, Asher is Shem, and Lud from Lydia, Lud is from Shem. Okay. And of course, Elam. And where did he go? Arpshad right here. Got Arpshad, Selah, Eber, and Peleg. And in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. After the days of Peleg, Peleg no longer meant divided, it meant where the waters flow between the continents. But that's another rabbit hole. Of course, Madai, the Medes in this area here. And the only other significant Y chromosome in the Jewish population would be the Assyrian population, because they were exiled to Assyria, quite a bit. And that's could be why they have the Y chromosome in their population. And other than that, it's the R1A, which is Mediterranean. And there is a Q from a dye in their population as well. And the T, which is probably from the Portuguese Jewish population. Okay. Of course, you have the three groups. This would be the youngest population, which is kind of interesting that the youngest population has the greatest genetic distance in the A and the B especially. So the A and the B, that's why they root the tree here, because they think that's the oldest lineage, but it's just the one with the greatest genetic distance, which means the more mutations and a faster reproduction, not reproduction rate, but faster generations, greater number of generations. Otherwise, they're not that much bigger. Of course, C has to be Nimrod. It can't be anybody else. D has to be the Sinim, descendants of Sinim. It really can't be anybody else. E2 would be the Canaanites. And of course, notice it's the D is compatible. Well, it doesn't show it here very much, but the D is compatible with the E2, E3, and E1 populations, which I don't know why they resort to these letterings. They have this one as E2, but these is probably E3 and E1 or what, something like that. And of course, here, separate from this population over here, is the F, G, H, I, and J. Should be the Semitic populations. And then the northern nations would be all of these, which would be Magog, Meshech, Javan, Tiraz, Tubal, Madai, and Gomer. 7 sons of Japheth. Whereas here we only have 5 sons of Shem, which is IJ is 1, Arpachshad. You have 2 Fs here, totally separate from each other, F and F2. 2 F populations, totally separate. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sons of Shem. G being Assyria, from descendants of Asher. H being descendants of Elam. F2 is either Aram or Lud. F1 is Aram or Lud. Don't know which is which. But it's 5 sons of Shem, 7 sons of Japheth, and 4 sons of Ham. C and D would be included with the E2. Then you have the E3. Oh no, D. D is included with the E2. C would be included with the A and the B, because the D and the C are separate. C would be connected to the A and B down here. All the way down here is connected to A and B. So C is descended from Cush, who is the oldest son of Ham. And then you have Canaan, Mitzrayim, and Put, Phoenicians, or This would be Mitzrayim, this is Put, and this is Canaan, or whatever. I don't know how many people they were tested. This is not. This is only 1,000 genome project, and it's not very comprehensive DNA test anyway. But those are the basic groups, and with the mitochondrial DNA, it'd be the L12345 6, and then there's the CDGM would be the descendants of the wife of Japheth, or the mitochondrial maternal line of Japheth's daughters, and these would be the mitochondrial descendants of the daughters of Shem, Semitic. Of course, in Europe, it's all H and V and R. And in America, there's a Semitic mitochondrial DNA that accompanies the Q wherever it goes, as well as the O, the X, and the W. So the A and the X and the W and the O, these all accompany the descendants of the Medes or the Q wherever they go. And this B is in the grouping of the Middle Eastern Semitic mitochondrial DNA, but this B goes through the Philippines all the way to America. It's a separate, but it's, even though it's separate, it's connected to the daughters of Shem, or the Middle Eastern daughters of Shem, whereas the A, the O, the X, and the N, these are they accompany the sons of Madai, or the descendants of Madai, the Q. So the A, the X, the W, they accompany the Medes. Wherever the Medes went in Europe is the X and the W, and where the Medes went, the Q went to America, it's the A. And this B is a separate lineage from the Middle Eastern population that may have been going to the land of gold, Ophir, the land of gold. They may be the descendants of those that went to the land of Ophir, gold, but they ended up all the way in America as well, which is the reason why it's A and B, because they're started off naming them in America. Okay, this is always interesting to me, this K2 right here, because the original population of Italy was Tubal, and the K2, 8% is still in central Italy to this day. And even in southern Italy, there's K2 as well. K2, 1% there. And northern Italy, K2 is 2%. Oh, actually, there's a K2% too. There's K and K2. So there's 2K2 population, 4% in northern Italy, 8% in central Italy, and of course 1% in southern Italy, because there's so many other populations. Of course, these are all populations that displaced the original population in Italy, which is J2 is Judaic, of course, J2 over here. R1b is Mediterranean, and G is Assyrian. E is Mitzrayim. E3 is Mitzrayim. So that's Mitzrayim, descendants of Mitzrayim, Egyptians. And that's about it for right now, I guess. Denisova allele frequency, not Semitic. This area of the Semitic population here, this is more Semitic population here, not Semitic. It's cold. It's cold for being Denisovan. The hot spot is in the Philippines here and Papua New Guinea for Denisovan allele frequency, which means it's descendants of Japheth and Hamitic, which could have been descendants of either Nimrod or the Sinite population in China, basically China. This is like northern China, pretty much. So the Denisovans are a mixture of descendants of Japheth and descendants of Ham. Neanderthals, on the other hand, are strictly only descendants of Japheth because it's the cold spot is over in this area of Denisova. It's not Neanderthal over here, nor is it in Africa. But Neanderthals did make it to America, of course, because Q is descendants of Medes, which is a descendant of Japheth. So that's why there's Neanderthal in America, the Americas, because Q is the descendants of Japheth. So they're Japhethites. So here's these steps again, basically. Let's see. Some of this stuff I covered already. I'm looking for some new charts. This is the Ashkenazi colon. This is a P58. You got a spike here for a J. Was this J1 P58? Right there. J1 P58. Got this big spike for colon modal haplotype. In case nobody ever saw that before. That's another one. That's a new one. This group here would be the E1, B1, B1. This is basically be Mitzrayim because it's E3. It's all E3. This is all E3. So it'd be probably Mitzrayim. Because Egypt, of course, went into the land of Canaan. This is basically the land of Canaan. So that explains that. And started out in Mitzrayim and then goes that way. They claim it starts here and goes this way, but it's actually started here and spread out from Mitzrayim, of course, to Egypt. The E1, B1 main migration, main clades of migration. But this, of course, includes the Berbers, the M81, the Berbers, It includes everybody basically except for the E1 and the E2. Okay, did I skip over the Q in Europe? Yeah, this is the Q. There's a Q haplogroup in Europe. So this is the area that has the mitochondrial DNA of X and W in this same area, which is where the Q is, which is where the Medes. This is exactly the area where the Medes were, right in this area in Europe. So, okay, see that? Okay, this is me again right here. I'm an I1M253, but I'm not the main DF29 group, which is all the Scandinavians and Germans. I'm another group here, right here. The Z17954, which is from the Alps, I guess the northern Alps. So that's where I'm from, which probably made their way down the Rhine River. Okay, this is I2. Okay, this is colon modal haplotype P58. Descendants of Aaron, Moses' brother. Maybe this is Moses, I don't know. Anyway. And the J2 M172, which is one specific group of J2. It's only one part of J2. Could probably is descendants of David and Solomon. Maybe this is David. Maybe this is David and Solomon. I don't know. Okay. So, and then this is J2B. Same thing. Download it twice. Here's the W. The W mitochondrial descendants would be the descendants of daughters, one of the daughters of Shem. Okay, this is Portuguese. Here's the T. Here's the T right here of the Portuguese Bragança Jews, which are not the Belmonte Jews. The Belmonte Jews seem to be almost strictly Judaic, like 2/3 of the population is descended from Judah directly. The other part would be an R1B. It's an R1B of one kind or another. R1A, of course, would be Ashkenaz. But the Bragança Jews is the only population with a T, the T haplogroup, because this is the area of the descendants of Tarshish, which is around here somewhere. And somehow maybe they had a connection with the descendants of Tarshish, the Bragança Jews, but the Belmonte Jews are 2/3 Judaic and only 1/4 is descendants of Riphath, the R1b Mediterranean population of the area. And this is the host population here. So the majority is R1b of the descendants of Ripfath. Okay, now this is Mediterranean Judaic populations. These are Sephardic Jewish populations. Here again, Mediterranean. I guess, I don't know if it's, anyways, it's showing 2/3 of the population are Judaic, with a little bit of possibly Arab or something, Arabic, but there's no T in this diagram anywhere. So none of these populations here have a T in their population. There's no T in this dark color here is R1b. So that's R1b there. So no T in the population anywhere in the population. The only population that has a T is the Portuguese population, Judaic population. See if this shows anything. So, got the F, G, H, and I, and then you have the K population. So notice how notice the separation here between the K population and the F population. Of course, the C would be Nimrod, but the F population is F, G, H, I, and J. Then there's a total separation between the J, or the F, G, H, I, and J, from the K, which is K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. And of course, as I was saying, the only connection that the K has with the Semitic population would be this Arphaxad or Arpachshad. Descendants of Arpachshad are the Danites and the Arabic and Judaic populations, or otherwise Hebrew populations. And here we have all the different SNPs, all the different SNPs separating each of the groups. And here you can see clearly that this group here, IJ, shares this SNP with the Eurasians. So the oldest ones, the Eurasians being the oldest population, the most original population from the oldest son of Noah, can share a SNP with the oldest son of Shem. So that's, to me, the only possible explanation. Same thing with the C descendants of Nimrod can share a SNP. So C here shares a SNP with F, G-H-I-J-K, the rest of the population. The only way Nimrod's descendants can share this SNP with the rest of the world is if he was the oldest son of Cush, who is the oldest son of Ham. So the SNP would have been lost to the later descendants. It's the only possible way to disprove the out of Africa, because otherwise you'll never, never, ever disprove the out of Africa theory. These have to be, losing a SNP instead of gaining. So it's losing a SNP from right to left instead of gaining a SNP from left to right. Very, very important. There's more of the same, basically. Except you have K. You have a lot of Ks here. K element OPQRs. Then the LTs. The K, IJK. Here's the IJK. IJ. And then the KLT. The K is KLT has its own separate group. The Eurasians are their own separate group. Of course, it's kind of hard to see there, but well, I guess that's it for right now. Okay, Sandy. Hello. Random Green. Rebuke and reprove. Shalom. Okay. I guess I'm running out of illustrations now, so it's about good enough, I guess. But let's see. Just shared some new things, which are, maybe not so new. But they're a little bit new. I have this, where is it? Here? Oh, yeah. This new discovery here. Is this in the? Oh, yeah. That I'm not a Viking. Sad to say, I'm not a Viking. I'm of this group here, I1C, which is Northern Alpine, but I'm a M253, which is the Viking group is over here. This DF29. This is Northern Alpine. This is Northern Alpine, which is all the same thing anyway. But it's not necessarily the Viking group. Could be because they would have had to travel down the Rhine River, which is straight north from the Alps, which lands you right in the Anglo-Saxon area. So they could have been Anglo-Saxon as well. And of course, they could have been anybody for that matter. But but that's where they're apparently originated from. Would be the Northern Alps. So that's what I am right there. And the P58 would be the Cohen modal haplotype, which is this spike right here with it's a J1P P58. P58. You have this spike here for the Ashkenazi Cohen modal haplotype. And of course, J2 would be King David, King Solomon, probably. M35 is all the descendants of Mitzrayim, which is all E3. So all these here, which includes the Berbers, includes the Egyptians in the land of Canaan, and other groups are all E3, probably descendants of Mitzrayim. And here's the IM253, the Z1954, which is over here, right? 954. And there's another group here, which is 179.25, Northern Alpine, which is me too. Because if you go here, this is green here for me is Z179.25, which is positive for my ancestry. I am 253s, and the STRs. These are the STRs. All right, that's about it, I guess. So everybody, take it easy. Have you seen that guy Molosis on Donnie's channel? He's a Kohen high priest, apparently. Oh, I remember seeing him. Be interesting if he has the Kohen modal haplotype. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Anyway, that's about it for right now. So God bless everybody. Take care. And hopefully the transmission turned out okay. And that's about it. Everybody take care. Have a great Christmas. And be thankful, grateful, and glad.